Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilanand. So let's move forward in today's satsang. We were studying the mystical meaning of King Amrish and his fasting and his experience with sage Durvasa. So we had discussed the glory of bhakti or devotion. So when there is true devotion, mind will be composed, you will be relaxed. This is the test of devotion. When there is true love of God, your mind will enjoy peace. However, if peace is lacking, do not be discouraged. Merely allow it to grow. Each time your mind wavers and becomes agitated, it means you have slipped from your ideal of inner peace and composure, and then you must try to get back to that ideal patiently and persistently. That test of one's inner strength is represented by Durvasa's arrival. Durvasa symbolizes all those things that can cause agitation to your mind. So just because we live in this practical world where there are actual situations, difficulties, tests, tribulations that will not let us be on an even keel. Life is never a straight line, so we must adapt and adjust accordingly, but not let our mind lose its balance. But Ambrish was a true devotee, and as a result he was protected by divine grace. Similarly, as our devotion grows, we will be protected by divine grace operating within us. No matter how baffling some situations seem to be, backed up by divine grace, we are going to conquer those situations. So at these times, have faith in God, have faith in your spiritual efforts, your practice, and continue your journey and do not lose your equilibrium and peace of mind. All the negative forces, all the agitating situations will bow down to you ultimately. There is nothing in the universe that can obstruct the movement of God, movement towards God, nothing that can obstruct true devotion. So we have to have that rock-like, Hanumanji-like faith. Durvasa seeks help from Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, and that help never comes to him. The Upanishads say that all the gods, all the forces, all this world cannot come in the way of one who has developed a deep insight into his essential nature. An insight that God is the reality in me and I am rooted in God. So that is the key essence, that God protects his devotees who are sincere, who are not doing it for external things, who are doing it just for the love of God, like Radha, Meera, Shabri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramakrishna Paramahans, all these sages and saints who are practically intoxicated with God's love. That is true growth of our bhakti. There is nothing that can obstruct our movement then. A true devotee is his own controller, his own master. That is why our Guruji always reminds us, you are the architect of your own destiny. So even though lot of things happen through the divine plan, but our self-effort always plays a central part. He is not regulated by anything outside. He is the Lord of the universe because he is one with the divine self. So when you connect to that divine energy, you and Brahman or you and God become one. Sage Durvasa could not find refuge anywhere in the universe except at the feet of the king. It is the devotee alone who gives refuge. And once the devotee gives refuge to the distracting, disappointing force, that force becomes congenial. It becomes a graceful aspect of spiritual movement. Therefore, remember, you have within you Amrish, King Amrish, the devotee who waits with patience, with no anger or hate, who needs to be awakened and unfolded. That Ambrish is your ideal. That's what we should emulate. And when we are confronted with Durvasa, who is there to test us, to tempt us, to agitate us? We have to manifest patience and endurance. And it is very difficult when practical tests come, when we are in pain, when somebody is saying mean and hurtful things to us, and we know we are right. It is very hard to not bounce back or give them how we really feel. But at that time, composure, patience, and consider Durvasa has arrived, and learn that we are King Ambrish during these moments. So, uh, because these are spiritual tests, as we progress spiritually, these tests will arrive. So it is up to us whether we want to repeat, fail, and do it again and again till we are ready, or should we be prepared for the exam, endure the pain, and move on to the next step. This is how the divine plan works for serious spiritual sadhaks. We all have to go through this journey. The divine grace, the grace will enable us to ultimately conquer. So when that grace comes, that is permanent. It stays with us. Otherwise, it will all be fleeting. While you evolve in this world, internally Durvasa is running and the chakra is after him. Internally, all the factors that cause disturbance are running in different directions for refuge. Because your sadhana or spiritual discipline and your devotion has generated a power that is after them. That is the power of devotion and bhakti, faith, sincerity on the path of spirituality. When we start going in this direction, this is how things are automatically starting to unfold for sincere devotees. However, like Ambrish, for whom a year passed in which the king knew nothing about what was happening to Durvasa, you don't see that happening because the whole process occurs in the unconscious, within our chitta, within our unconscious. So while we cannot see it, we should be rest assured we are certainly progressing. In course of time, however, we come to realize that we have become the master of ourselves. We have transformed. We are no longer the same old agitated person with all our vices. Now those vices are gradually being replaced with virtues, goodness, compassion, kindness, love, humility. All these qualities are now becoming part of our everyday personality. We are no longer trying to emulate it. They have just become part of us. That is the blessing of spirituality and bhakti. But we have to be sincere. We cannot just do this for 5 minutes and think and then get back into rajas and tamas and worldly values and see, and then say, why are we not progressing? This has to become the central theme of our life, and thus this beautiful story of King Ambrish to guide us how to be patient, how to handle difficult situations. So we are one with God and nothing can come in our way if we are sincere. So this is the beautiful story of devotion, the guidance that we get from the Lord Himself, how He comes to protect us, how He saves us, how He loves us with so much care that God says, I worship my devotee. Imagine where is God and where is a simple devotee, and yet He values them so much that He asks Durvasa to go back and seek refuge in Him only. So with that kind of faith, let us all proceed on this path of bhakti and devotion with love and compassion for one and all. This whole universe is interconnected. So we cannot be selfish. We just don't want to grow by ourselves or let everybody else do what they want. Let me benefit. No. Ambrish had full compassion for sage Durvasa, even though sage Durvasa said so many hurtful things to him. And that is the true essence of a pure devotee. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.